Week 1 of the college football season is in the books, and I had some takeaways from this past weekend of the games. Let's get into it. The young quarterback struggled on the road between Ty Simpson, C.J. Carr, and what everyone was excited to watch in Arch Manning taking on the Ohio State defense. Young quarterback struggled on the road, and as football fans, we kind of should have expected this, but from the billing of what Arch is supposed to be, we were kind of looking at him as a final product when he is far from it. And with C.J. Carr, redshirt freshman, sat behind Riley Leonard all of last year. And Notre Dame's game plan was just super weird to me. Jeremiah Love only had 4 touches going into the third quarter, and they put a lot on C.J. Carr. At one point, I believe they threw 10 passes, and half of them might have been screens or short one-read routes. Just a very confusing game plan for Notre Dame with a young quarterback starting against Miami. And same with Sark. With Arch Manning. Matt Patricia had a very good game plan. That Ohio State defense buckled down when they needed to in the red zone, stopping the tush push when Tennessee went for it on fourth down. Deep inside Ohio State's territory, I believe it was at the 1 or 2 yard line. Ohio State stops that. And Arch, he just kind of looked rattled at times, but I also think Sark coached not to lose and with some training wheels on. But there were times in the pocket where Arch threw from different arm angles, and instead of just stepping into a throw, would try to sling it sidearm. Just super weird stuff, but that will come down and be brought out of him as more reps and more starts take place. I think the big shocker, though, is Florida State and Alabama. Ty Simpson and that Alabama team. Boy, oh boy. That film does not look good for Alabama. If you've seen, there's a bunch of clips out there on social media where Alabama's defense is just jogging. Full plays. The big end around that Florida State ran to get deep into Alabama's territory, or it was for a touchdown, and just guys just jogging on defense. It's not something that we've seen from Alabama in a very, very long time, and it brings me to my next takeaway from the week 1. Are we sure Kalen DeBoer is the guy? Kalen DeBoer is a very good coach, but I think culture fit matters a lot more than people want to give credit for. Kalen DeBoer is an easygoing, laid-back guy, and that works at a place like Washington, who, yes, is a rabid fan base and loves their football, but just the way the Pacific Northwest is compared to the South, and especially Alabama, and what that fan base expects after the Nick Saban and what they got with Nick Saban, are we sure he fits? You never want to be the guy after the guy, and coaches and players, they don't think like that, and I understand that because you always think that you can get the job done. But, man, it is not going good. Caleb DeBoer is already got 3 losses as a double-digit favorite. We all remember the Vandy game last year. Obviously started off 0-1 this year against Florida State. And they just got outworked. Like I brought up earlier, just a lot of guys just jogging and just not – Ty Simpson looked very, very, very unqualified to be an Alabama quarterback. I mean, he's been there for 5 years. He sat, waited his turn. And with someone in this new era that's not transferring out and sitting, waiting their turn, I want that guy to succeed because I don't mind the transfer portal. But it's kind of gotten a little bit crazy here recently. He just looked unprepared and just did not look like a SEC caliber starting quarterback. Kalen DeBoer, they can still turn around. Alabama was my pick to win the SEC. They can still turn it around. But, man, the early returns have not been good. On the flip side of that, Florida State's back, in my opinion. Last year, I think we're going to look at it as like a weird year that just kind of, when you're a transactional program like Florida State, you are more susceptible to years like last year to where everything just does not click. But it seems like just like 2 years ago when everything clicked when they had Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk in the portal. It seems like Mike Norvell did that, and they especially got the quarterback position right. And that's really all that matters on a football team. Yes, it is a team sport. You can have a great defense. You can have a great special teams. You can have a great offensive line, but nothing really matters unless you have that guy at quarterback. And, man, they hit a home run with Tommy Castellanos from Boston College. I also want to point out them getting Gus Malzahn. And there was a lot of pushback from Florida State fans. There were some people that were happy with the hiring, but there were a lot of people that pushed back. And that pairing, Gus Malzahn is a great play caller. He's just not a great CEO. You know, he's not a good head coach. He was great at Auburn. He's probably Auburn's best coach of the 2000s. Just didn't work out at UCF like a lot of people thought, including myself. But, man, for him just to be back as a coordinator and just being able to call plays and not have to focus on the transactional side of what the sport has become. The Florida State team, there's a real good shot that they are playing in the ACC title game again. And, man, I don't believe in the theory of college football is better when blank program is good. But there's just something about Florida State and that stadium when Florida State is good and that stadium is rocking that. It is college football. On the flip side of talking about the younger quarterbacks earlier, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, 2 veterans. One pushed out from Georgia to go to Miami and Beck, and Garrett Nussmeier getting the privilege of wearing the number 18 at LSU. Veteran quarterbacks show that they're veteran quarterbacks for a reason, and reps matter. Carson Beck looked like a different quarterback. The one crazy catch by C.J. Daniels for a touchdown before halftime, that was a bad throw, and he got bailed out. But all night, Beck just looked comfortable. And Nussmeier, even in a low-scoring, hostile environment, being in Clemson and Death Valley, just looked comfortable all night. Even when they got down early and kind of seemed like they really couldn't get nothing going, he just seemed comfortable, never got rattled, never got too high, never got too low. That's really something that we've seen from LSU quarterbacks lately, with the run of Burrow to Jaden Daniels, now to Garrett Nussmeier the last 2 years. Veteran quarterbacks are the way. There's a reason when they hit the portal, they are highly sought after. You want guys with reps. Like I brought up earlier, Arch Manning and them guys, they will get better as the year goes on. But man, what we've seen from Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier, I don't think it's too crazy to think that these two teams are playoff teams, and we've seen a potential playoff game in week 1 of the college football season. And John Summerall at Tulane, man, if you're Kentucky and you're that fan base, you got to think, what if? John Summerall is a hell of a coach. I believe this will be his last year at Tulane. There's a good chance Tulane makes the college football playoff as the G5 school. South Florida is also in that conversation after beating Boise State. They got a good coaching staff and good players down there. But I really wanted to focus on Tulane because between North Carolina and Kentucky, there's a good chance that John Summerall was one and done at Tulane. But North Carolina pushed back on the AD, so John Summerall stays at Tulane. They go get Bill Belichick. We've seen how that first game went. And then with Kentucky, Mark Stoops was ready to take the A&M job. A&M fans revolted, as they should. Kentucky brings him back, even though Mark Stoops kind of been taking some weird shots at them the last couple of years. Just a weird relationship that everyone knows this is probably the end of Mark Stoops in Kentucky. But if Kentucky would just bit the bullet last year, they'd have John Summerall right now. He's an SEC coach, Big Ten. John Summerall is a big-time coach. And just because he's only coached at smaller schools like Troy and Tulane doesn't mean anything. John Summerall can coach with the best of them. X's and O's guy, knows how to recruit, good player relationship guy. I think he's in an SEC next year, and I would not be surprised if it's Kentucky. I think Arkansas, I think that's where Gruden ends up, funny enough. But I think Summerall is in the SEC. But if you're an ACC team and your program's not going how you thought it would after your last hires, cough, Virginia and Virginia Tech, I think you fire your coaches if your season doesn't go how you think it will, and you just offer John Summerall whatever it takes to get him, because John Summerall can coach. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Let me know down in the comments what were some of your takeaways from this past weekend of college football. We are in treat for a great year, and man, let's get to it. We got week 2 coming up. We got a bunch of football coming on. Best time of the year.